happy?
I mean, there's a bunch of reasons, but I get to talk about One Piece right now, and I'm really excited for all of the One Piece nonsense that I get to share with you.
Oh, nice.
Oh my god. Okie doke. Are you ready, my friend? Are we ready to rock?
Yeah, I was ready to ask. Are we recording?
Absolutely, we're recording. We're absolutely recording right now. All right. So,
Yes.
all right. Welcome to the Gamedads podcast where we've been dadding. Normally it's games and dads, but I feel like for both of us, it's just been a lot of dad.
Mm-hmm. That has been.
Yep. I'm Aaron, and this is my co-host and hetero life mate, Brett. Oh, I'm not going to say your last name because that's weird. Why would I say your last name?
You were getting ready.
I was. It was about to fly right out of my mouth, and I was like, "Why would I? Why would I do that?" Anyway,
You can say my last name. It sounded like you were getting ready to mispronounce it. Can you say my last name?
Alt Miller.
There you go. You never know. Sometimes, I get alt apps, alt Miller. Yes, to keep with the German theme.
I try to keep my pronunciations pretty clean because as a person whose name gets misspelled or missaid constantly, I'm like,
Yeah.
I understand. Like, it doesn't do that thing that like people do on TV where they're like, "Oh, you said my name wrong," but I'm like, as it happens to me so often, I'm like, okay, I'm just not gonna. I'm gonna make sure because if I had a nickel for every time someone called me Andrew instead of calling me Aaron and the rest of it,
Yeah.
I would.
Well, and especially in the wake of Key and Peele, I feel for you, brother.
Yeah, I mean that one doesn't bother me. I mean, you can hit me with
It doesn't?
all the AA runs you want. I don't. It doesn't bother me. Like
Oh my
it's
gosh.
funny. I like Key and Peele. It's a good bit, so like it doesn't bother me. Like yeah, like people
Yeah.
have issues pronouncing names, but then when you look at logically the way of a lot of very American names are spelled, they wouldn't sound the way that they're spelled. And like Americans have this big issue with it, but like they don't have it when it comes to American names. Like I get it. It's a good bit. It doesn't bother me. But like when someone comes up to me and calls me Andrew for the 100th time, I'm like, my name is Aaron. And then they look at my name and they're like, oh yeah, your name is Aaron. And I'm like, so I'm just
That's
like,
what I said.
I'm just like, okay, that's fine. You know, I'll be careful about the way I pronounce people's names. I'll make sure to ask. I'll make sure to remember because it annoys me, so I know it annoys everyone else in their own way. So I get that one.
Right.
But
all good.
That ran aside. Please like and subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast because it's very important for numbers and whatnot. But anyways, I'm gonna let you go first on when we do topics because both of mine are One Piece. Is a small One Piece conversation, and then it is a big One Piece conversation. So I'm just going to do the whole thing in one big rant.
Am I going to be able to contribute?
Mostly oohs and ahs, but it's at this point, at this stage of the game where we're at, the One Piece lore is getting so insane that I got to talk about it, or I feel like I'm not I feel like I'm not contributing, and I get this rant inside of me that needs to come out. So I'm just gonna do it here. So let's do what we always do. And let's start with what you playing, which gives us both a little bit of time to also talk about how life has been for the past 4 weeks.
Yeah, man. Well, I've been playing mostly on my Steam Deck, and I can't seem to find our Google Doc.
I will resend it to you. It took me a while to find it again too. I've got a new phone since the last time I used it, so I'll get it. I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay. No, I got it. Okay. I found it. iPhone got a new update, so everything is kind of jacked up right now. But no, I've been mostly playing on my Steam Deck lately. Just she's teething, and so she's going through that 4-month sleep regression stuff. That's the dad part of the dad podcast, man. It just parenting kind of comes in its victories and defeats, and at some points there's more defeats than victories. but you just kind of stick with it and roll with the punches. Deal the cards as they're dealt, or play the cards as they're dealt, whatever sort of metaphor or analogy you want to use for it. But my wife and I have been struggling. So when I do get the game, I've been playing on my Steam Deck, and that's been clutch, dude. I'll play on my lunch break at work. I don't typically take lunch breaks, but especially like as she's been kind of being, I don't want to say a butt, but as she's been a little more difficult in the evening, because that's when I would typically play. It's easy just I use the word clamshell quite a bit because that's back from like the DS and 3DS days and all that stuff. You just, if something's going on, you just fold it up, put it away, and you're good to go. But like most gaming consoles now have some sort of like a sleep or suspend function, which is fantastic. Steam Deck has it, PlayStation's got it, Xbox has it to where it's a prominent feature. It's that, oh no, I can't remember what it's called. Uh, Anyway, doesn't matter. I put stuff in suspend mode, but dude, I've been on a Final Fantasy kick lately. I mean, I'm always on a Final Fantasy kick, but I've been playing, and I actually just beat Final Fantasy 9, which we've been kind of talking about for a while now. I think.
Yeah, because of all the remake rumors.
Yeah, and I got kind of, I say not grumpy with it, but so more like impatient because like when it comes to video games, I mean, why be grumpy, I guess. But so I started looking into ways to play it, and I've got it on PlayStation 4/5, whatever. But it's based off of the mobile version. So like it got rid of the analog controls, so you can't like move in any direction. So you've only got 8 directions to move in. And then the backgrounds are incredibly muddy compared to like the quote unquote HD characters or whatever. So like the characters look fantastic against a really muddy background. So it's kind of disproportionate. So I started looking into like mods and stuff on PC/Steam Deck, whatever. And they had the game for like $6. So I picked it up and found this thing called the Maguri mod. And I think I was messing around with it on one of the last shows we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I would report back, and I report back, and it's fantastic. So you can alter, like it uses like AI scaling in some cases, but a lot of it's been like handcrafted or whatever to look a little bit better. But you can make it look like a cartoon, like a storybook type deal. I went ahead and picked. I did that for a little while, but I picked natural to where it actually kind of makes it looks like the PS1 version. And I tried to emulate this in a way to where it looks as much like the original PS1 release, at least like the way my brain interprets it.
Yeah, I get you.
As possible. So I sped the battles up just a little bit because if you play Final Fantasy 9, you know how slow the battle system is. Beyond that, there was no other boosts or enhancements or anything like that. I enhanced the visual graphics. I enhanced, or rather, I changed the way that the menus look to make them look like the PS1 versions. Dude, it gets so like in the weeds with how you want this game to look. But like just Final Fantasy 9, just in general, God, do I use this term so much because it's all top tier, but it's top tier Final Fantasy. Like, I love the characters. It seemed to hit a little bit more like as an adult. I haven't beaten this game since I was probably in high school. So I didn't have very many games for my PlayStation, but like when I got it, because I got it like super cheap, so I'm picking up everything cheaply. I wanted the holy trinity, as it were, the Final Fantasy 8 or 7, 8, 9, and I would just run through those games. I beat it, started up again, beat it, started up again. But I haven't really just sat down and played Final Fantasy 9 in such a long time, dude. And it's deeply political. It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like existentialism in it. Like, why do I exist? Like, what's my purpose? Like, just, and man, like, it really hits,
Yeah. It's definitely a game that I feel like, I mean, this is kind of you could say this about almost any game, but I definitely feel like there are some serious themes within Final Fantasy IX that hit really hard right now.
Yeah. Well, and like the political stuff too, just the way Queen Braun is, she's recently lost her husband and she's moving in on all these like neighboring kingdoms,
Mm-hmm.
and she's taken over. She's enlisted the help of this guy named Kuja, who, I mean, who has his own motives and all that stuff, but she doesn't know it. He's just preying on her anger, and he's manipulating her. There's all like is so she's a bad guy,
Yeah.
just a villain through and through. But you could also kind of make a case for, like, is she really like that, or is she just being manipulated? Like, there's all kinds of things with it. And then you've got Zidane, that's your atypical hero, and he he messes up, but he owns his mistakes. And there's Steiner, who's loyal to a fault,
Mm-hmm.
and you know it- nothing will get in the way of duty. And but then he starts to kind of realize the errors. His ways, like every character in this game learns from something that happens to them. And that being said, I mean, Steiner and Vivi are, I think, are. I mean, Vivi's always been a favorite of mine, but like Steiner is an absolute favorite of mine, just in the pantheon of all Final Fantasy, like, heroes and side characters and all that. Steiner's one of my absolute favorites. But
Yeah,
um,
Steiner's an interesting character for me because he's definitely. I mean, the beginning of the game definitely gives you this like this guy's never gonna change. He's stuck in his ways. He's always gonna be this thorn, and then like story happens a little bit more, and then he shifts, and then he just like you're just like he doesn't shift in a way that like destroys his character, but he definitely changes drastically from the beginning of the series to the end.
yeah, his perspective changes. Like the first time he calls Zidane by his name, it's it's not made to be a big deal, but if you're paying attention to the story and all that stuff, it is a big deal. He's always super kind and respectful to somebody like Vivi, or Princess Garnet. I don't, dude. I never call her Dagger.
Yeah, no.
You know, no, it's like, oh yeah, well, what do you want to rename her? No, it's Garnet.
Yeah.
No, we rename her Garnet. But he's always like super respectful to everybody that's around him and stuff. But Zidane, who just never really showed him respect in the first place. I love the Japanese translations for it. I went back and like listened to a bunch of interviews, and because the Square's been all about Final Fantasy IX right now, except for the actual remake part of it, I guess. But in Japan, instead of calling him Rusty, he calls him Uncle, like as a mean to basically just call him Uncle, to call him old,
Yeah.
basically. This dude's in his 30s. Like, I'm actually older than Adelbert Steiner, which is hilarious to me. But I just, even the ones that joined super late, like Aiko or Amaret, they're all great in their own ways. And like Amaret grows quite a bit too. I just it's what I needed right now. I don't have a whole lot of time for video games, but like, and it kind of showed me how games used to be for us, like especially like when we were in school. you know Final Fantasy 9 came out when I think it was like a very early freshman in high school. And just didn't have a whole lot of time to play games, so it's usually an hour, maybe a couple hours at a time. But you'd be able to jump in and play a little bit and then put it down and pick it up and come back. Like, games aren't really made like that anymore. The
Yeah.
suspend features are great, but 9 times out of 10, games aren't really meant to be picked up and put down like that.
Yeah, the primary
Um,
motive of games now is to kind of monopolize as much of your time as possible. And
right.
I don't think the shift is something that's like I don't think the original design was to be this like kind of pick down. They wanted to capture attention in that way. It just they didn't have the technology. Like everything wasn't a real time battle where you can't just stop in the middle. Like Final Fantasies back in the day, like if you could leave your TV on, you could literally be in the middle of the final boss of the game and just like put the game down, walk away, and come back later when you
Yeah.
needed to. Like, I think I don't like all I'm saying is I don't think this was a design choice that they made. I think it was more of the they didn't have the technology to make it that way, but like it did pose this super advantage to kids where like you don't have you don't always don't have like huge stretches of time to play games because like when we were kids, when I was a kid, I could get home and maybe play for an hour, and then it dinner time or my mom will want me for something or whatever, and then I could save, put the game down, walk away, and then come back after dinner and play a little bit more before bed or something like that. But like, yeah, it's kind of more of like what we're experiencing now with like more kid responsibilities and stuff like that with the
Mhm.
babies. So like now I do have that same thing where like I can play for a little while and then I got to make dinner, or then I can play for a little while and then, Andrea just needs a break. So let me take care of the kids for a little while you take a break. And then, we switch out on and out or however things work. But yeah, I, I miss that system and I need to find myself a good RPG to jump into so I can go back to it for a little while.
So, and dude, you hit the nail on the head with that. Like, and that's what I'm trying to recreate for myself is just like, hey, play the things that I really want to play, but, do play games in a way that they respect my time. So, to that extent, I'm still playing a whole lot of RPGs. I'll report back on the next podcast, but I am playing Final Fantasy VI right now. I've never beaten Final Fantasy VI. I will save my thoughts for that. So, please be excited, I guess. But the other RPG I'm playing right now is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I need a reason to play my Switch too, you know? So otherwise, if I don't play this, it's going to collect dust. So I'm 2 stars away from the end on it. And dude, like all the things that I said about Final Fantasy 9, like apply to Paper Mario, just, be able to respect the time, blah, blah, blah. You can suspend it. The things I don't like about this though, and I always held Paper Mario, especially the Thousand Year Door, in very high regard. The Switch, I don't know if you want to call it a remake, you can probably remaster, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't run as well on Switch as it did on GameCube. Like GameCube is 60 frames a second. On Switch, it's 30. The backgrounds and reflections and all that stuff look a little bit better, but like, do you really need that stuff for a Paper Mario game? I'm I love the battle system. Like it's simple, but at the same time too, like there are things about Paper Mario is an RPG, but I think there's a reason why Thousand Year Door was the last of the turn-based RPGs. And I know that's probably a little controversial and all that stuff because like the next game after that was Super Paper Mario, and I think that's probably a little more replayable than Thousand Year Door is. And I say that as somebody that loves those first 3 Paper Mario games are just some of my favorite Nintendo games. But I mean, there's definitely points in Thousand Year Door that really just halt your flow a little bit. You do your typical adventure. The characters are great, first and foremost, but like there's a couple points where like Mario goes to it's like a tournament or like a Coliseum type deal, and like instead of being on this in this grand world or whatever, you're a fighter and you have to go into the fighting pit, and your name is the Great Gonzalez, which is always fun to me. But they always make mention of his mustache, and I love the humor in Paper Mario. But so he'll do a battle, and then he'll get kicked back into the locker room where he has to sit for another couple minutes, and then he'll go back into the fighting pit. And you do this several times, like it's multiple hours at a time. And just it's things like that where it really, that's what's kind of kept me from replaying it over the years. This is my first time actually replaying it
Mm-hmm.
since it came out in '04, but it's still, I think, worth your time if you need something to play on Switch. It runs fine on Switch too. Like there's no like enhancements for it or anything like that. I am also playing Doom: The Dark Ages. I don't really have a whole lot to say about that just yet because I'm still really early in it. Again, we go back to games respecting your time, and I think this one does. It does save quite a bit. So if I need to like get up and walk away, I love Doom. There's meant to be if you were to type that out, that's all capital letters, periods in between each word. I love Doom. Dark Ages is just so good. I love how each of the new Doom trilogy has a sort of a theme. Last one was rip and tear. This one is stand and fight. Like Doomslayer can parry, and the weapons are chunky, and the enemies explode, and it's still this. It's not as like Eternal was more of a stick with me on this kind of a Devil May Cry sort of dance where like some enemies are strong against certain weapons, so you have to flip to the weapon that they're weak against and all that. It's still got a little bit of that in it, but you can really if you find a gun that you really like, and there's not as many guns in this one as there is in the last one, you could still follow that path. Like for example, I really love the super shotgun. The shotguns in games are just they're just fun.
It's a shotgun, but
Um,
it's super.
Yes. Well, dude, like I can't remember the names of all the different guns, but there's one where the ammunition is skulls. So like it crunches up skulls into the gun itself, and that shoots the bone fragments at
Yeah, I've seen
enemies.
that.
Like it's so cool. And then it's got like so instead of the BFG, it's got the BFC for the big fucking crossbow. Like but there's catches with everything. Like there are different sections, so you fight as like this big Megazord looking motherfucker. There's you can fly on a dragon in some levels, and like that's kind of cool. But I know there are some people that are more down on that than me, but I'm digging it. And then the last thing I'll talk about, and I'll kick it back to you. I mean, I'm not going to talk about it a whole lot, but I did buy Silksong.
Mhm.
I know I'm not. Are you a Hollow Knight guy?
I I own Hollow Knight. It's on my list, but I have not gotten deep enough into it to like say I'm
Yeah.
like a Hollow Knight person.
It's got to be like your only game that you're playing. It's hard to jump back and forth. Oh, and speaking of which, we were watching the state of play from the other day. We're recording a few days after that had happened. And there was a game that popped up on there, and I can't remember which one it was. But instead of using the word Metroidvania, they used the word exploratory adventure game. And I loved it. I don't think that that's going to stick, but I was waiting for them to say Metroidvania in this, and I'd have to look at the state of play to figure out which game it was. But I was waiting for the it's Metroidvania elements and stuff. No, they use exploratory adventure game, and I wanted to jump through the screen and give that guy a big kiss on the mouth.
I'm about to say the hairs
Um,
on the back of your neck stood up.
yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, it just makes me so happy. But no, Silk Song is really good. It's hard. I love it. I'm not having as many issues with it as some people are. There's a lot of skill checks in the beginning of the game, which I think that's what's bothering some people. And Hornet doesn't control one to one like Hollow Knight does.
Yeah, I heard
Um,
Hollow Knight's more linear and the other one's more diagonal.
yes, like or talk about like in terms of motion and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, there's definitely there's a disconnect there. I think a lot of people were expecting a pogo. The pogo in and do you know what I mean by pogo, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. The the pogo in Hollow Knight was a lot of people's like saving grace, where if you couldn't get the hit in, straight on or whatever, you could just jump on top of them and just Scrooge McDuck pogo this dude until they die. It doesn't work for everything, but like it's definitely a way to kind of cheese enemies, and you can't really do that, especially at the beginning of Silksong, because she does kind of come in and the down attack, or it ends up being a diagonal. And you can still pogo off of enemies like that. It's just you have to really get used to playing it like that.
Yeah, it
And,
seems
and
like
just
it seems like to me, and as a person who hasn't really played that much of Hollow Knight and hasn't played Silksong, coming in it from what I have seen from other people talking about it and exploring it, it seems like a lot of people jumped back into Hollow Knight to get their skills sharp for Silksong when they found out it was coming out, and once they got back in and like the angles are a little different and are kind of a little bit more difficult because you put yourself in more danger moving diagonally than you do straight up and down. People came in and were like, this is really hard. When it's not really hard, you just kind of trained yourself the wrong way to play this game.
Well, so the game is hard.
Well, yeah, I
But
mean, both of them
I,
are kind
I,
of
I think,
hard.
but to piggyback off what you're saying too, just it is hard. And I think people did do they started playing Hollow Knight because of that, or to get their skills up and all that stuff. But there are parts of the bosses in Silksong are. I think they've already addressed this. I'm not sure if it's coming to patch or not, but a lot of bosses will actually hit you for two ticks of your health instead of just one, like with the original Hollow Knight did. So you're actually draining health quicker. But at the same time, too, there's balance to that. Like Ornit will, if you've got enough hits in, like your little bar will fill up. That's the same thing in the original as well. But he heals faster. So the whole game is about speed. It's about speed. It's getting to it, it's not a kind of what we were talking about with Doom. It's not a stand and fight sort of deal. Like where if the first Hollow Knight is like the Doom Dark Ages, this is definitely more eternal. It's fast paced. It's hard hitting. It's gonna it's gonna bounce people off. But the other thing I'm gonna say about Silksong is, and I think I've seen debates going back and forth on this, and it's really kind of bothered me. But it launched at $20, and I think that is a very competitive price for Hollow Knight Silksong. I think they could have released it at 30, 40, $50, and I don't think anybody would have batted an eye at it. But to come out at $20 and basically just eat the lunch out of every AAA developer and even some indie developers too. And I know a lot of people are kind of mad at Team Cherry for it and stuff, but like I love that. Like these guys are millionaires multiple times over just based off the first Hollow Knight alone. Like for them to come out and say like, "Hey, this is $20. It's releasing in 2 weeks." I think that takes a lot of guts. I think that we talk about goodwill a lot in video games. Like
Mm-hmm.
CD Projekt Red had a lot of goodwill coming out of The Witcher 3, going into Cyberpunk and all that. So like people kind of bought not Cyberpunk sight unseen, but like it was more they because of the goodwill built up on Witcher, they were more apt to jump into their next game. And unfortunately, people got burned on that. But with this one, like they built up a lot of goodwill with that first Hollow Knight, launching at $15. It was it had some DLC that came after the fact, but for the most part, it was content complete. It's a long game. It respects your time. And then for them to come out with Silksong and say, "Hey, you know what? It's $20." And I just the people that are complaining about the price, they're like, "Well, they should have charged more for this." Why? Why? And then the other people that are like, "Well, they didn't give people a whole lot of time to move." What do they care? Like when are they going to put this game out? You know what I mean? Like anytime they put it out is going to be it's gonna affect something.
Yeah.
And a lot of indie games end up moving after that, which that's their prerogative. But Silksong's a juggernaut, and it's not the juggernaut, but
Bitch.
but it's not the juggernaut, bitch. But dude, it's a juggernaut of a game, and I can't wait to play more of it. And I guess on that one I will report back as well.
Sounds good.
So I talked a lot.
All right. I will do my talking now. So I'm not even gonna say anything. Satisfactory is on my playlist. I just not ever stop playing
What?
it. I just don't ever stop.
What?
I just don't ever stop playing it. But I do have some interesting stuff on there. Not just Satisfactory. So I've been playing the crap out of Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
I ran into an interesting problem, and this is purely my problem, not a problem with the game. Chrono Trigger is still perfect. It's still,
Can I
but
ask what you're playing?
I'm playing it on Steam.
Yeah.
So I I noticed a thing that I am doing where I'm getting impatient with the game for the reason of my narrowed amount of time. Like I don't
Uh,
I want to be spending more time, but I'm so worried that like something's gonna come up. So I'm like kind of flying through it, not on purpose. And then the game was like, hey, I love you, buddy, but you gotta respect the way we do things around here. You can't just fly through this game. And then the way it did that was Magus, and he is kicking my ass because
yeah,
I'm not taking my time to like memorize his pattern to know what element I should be attacking in, and
right.
he's just rocking my shit. So like I have to like, okay, slow down, stop just clicking the confirm button because you're gonna get your ass kicked. And I like that. I like that the game was like, yeah, you've been using this little strategy where you've just been running in and verifying whether the enemy's weak to sword or magic and then using magic or sword immediately, but that shit's not gonna work anymore. Stop. And Magus kicked my butt. He kicked my butt. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, okay, game. Sorry. Going a little too fast for you. I'll slow down and and memorize the patterns and make sure. And like it's even now this one I'm not sure if it's a Steam thing or not, but like I feel like maybe I'm trying to be too quick about it. But like I feel like the even the button clicks aren't registering exactly the way I want them to. And like
No, it's a Steam thing.
yeah, like I hit the button, I hit down, like I'm trying to like quick jump into menus and stuff, and I'll hit the button, and like by the time I look down and realize where I am, I'm in the wrong menu because like a down arrow didn't register to click me into magic, or like an over didn't register to move me over to a different character's skills or something. And I'm like, but it's like it's me because I'm not watching, I'm just clicking buttons. I'm just like trying to do things sight unseen. And yeah, Magus totally kicked my butt, so now I have to go back and like fight him again. Yeah.
No, it's definitely a Steam thing. There are parts about that one that have really kind of bothered me, but I think some of it too is like it's the it's like wireless controls if you're playing with that, or
Yeah.
maybe are you doing mouse keyboard?
I'm playing with my wireless controller.
Okay, yeah, it may be a little bit to do with that possibly, but I get that with the Steam Deck too, and there's no latency with that, or at least there shouldn't be. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like it's one of those things where I have to go back and just slow down and just like fight the battle as it's happening, not just like trying to rush through it. And I feel like
Yeah,
Max was like, nope, nope, you can't do this over here. Nope. If you throw one wrong magic spell because you're clicking your buttons too fast, I'm going to punish the crap out of you. So, and that's exactly what happened. I was clicking through the buttons, I hit the wrong spell, and he was like, oh, you used lightning. Well, I'm going to use my counter, and it does, like 200 damage to all your whole team. And my characters weren't healed at the proper place to be able to deal with it. And I was just like, oh, well, this run's done. I'm done. Like he kicked my butt. But yeah, but I am enjoying the crap out of it though. Just like I said, I gotta slow down. Getting back into that mode where I'm playing games too fast and I need to just slow down. The random pick out of all of the games that I'm playing right now, I started playing Scott Pilgrim again.
yeah,
I just picked it up and I was like, I just want to beat something up. So I just like picked up Scott Pilgrim, started playing through it. I'm at Gideon, so I'm at the last Gideon fight. I just like I got to that fight, I fought him once, lost, and then like I had to do something else. So I put the game down. I just need to like go do a run real quick, get some more money, buy some stuff, and then go back and I could probably beat him. It just took me a
yeah.
minute.
That's I like that about that game where you can kind of go back, get stronger, and then return. Like you're not meant to just play it level to level like a Ninja Turtle game or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that I finished that. I've been playing other than that, I was playing a little bit of Persona 5 Strikers, and that's just
I saw that.
Persona 5 Strikers is I had a moment where like I was really locked in, and then like I think my PlayStation got turned off by the kids or something, and I lost like 10 hours of gameplay, and like had to go back a whole level. a whole like area that I had already beaten. I've been going back through to do it. So it's just been taking me a little bit of time to go back through all the stuff I've already done, but almost caught back up to where I was. And then like after that, I can feel like I can push through the rest of the game pretty easily. So, but the big crazy news, and this is me and Brett talked about this a little bit, but like my mom had hip surgery in June. And then after her hip surgery, she was doing her recovery at home. And then she fell and cracked her tibia. So
Yeah.
after that happened, we were all in the hospital and all of that stuff with her for a couple of days. And then she went to like a physical therapy place and stayed there for a couple of weeks. And now she is staying with me while she does her rest of her physical therapy and recovers before she goes back home. So I am currently, my house went from 4 people to 6 people. And it is, I mean, it's been interesting. It's not like anything super crazy because like my mom is staying in the room that would have been Max's room, and then Max's her crib and stuff is in our living room. But I mean, it's not too bad. Nothing crazy has been going on. There haven't been any crazy fights. It's just been different, like a different scenario to have like another person in the house, especially because the other person in the house also needs help. Like my mom needs help, getting in and out of the house and stuff like that. And just, it's just been an interesting scenario. So, like, my days have been more packed than usual. And then, of course, as usual, I got sick last week and I am just barely at the end of it now. And, like, oh my God, my nose has been absolutely clogged for like almost 2 weeks now. And I'm just,
Did Don bring it home from school?
yeah, of course. First,
Oh no.
she had it, then Lee had it, and then Andrea got like a little tidbit of it, and then I got like the real deal sick.
Oh no. Yeah, that's tough, man. It's even harder when with like Drake was in second grade when the pandemic hit. So we were able to kind of hammer home to him like, hey, you need to make sure you're washing your hands and keep your hands off your face, that kind of stuff. But it was a constant battle. But
Uh,
with Lydia being home now, we we can kind of tell him like, hey, with just everything kind of going around and like we're not able to get COVID shots anymore, which is another thing unto itself. But you know, we have to make sure that we're doing our part and making sure that hands are off our face, that kind of stuff. But like with daycares and little kid school, that kind of stuff, you really just can't control that.
yeah, it's
It's
just
so hard.
we're at that point where it's basically like when Dom gets home from school, you have like a separate change of clothes for her, and like
Yeah.
literally go in there, wash your hands, and just change out of your school clothes into another set of clothes.
Yep. That's the way to do it.
So, other than that, like I just haven't had a lot of gaming time lately. So, one other thing that I want to talk about, which is, oh my God, it was so good. We went to the theatrical release of the Demon Slayer movie, The Infinity Castle, and
I heard it was good.
it was so good. Like okay, trying not to be as less spoilery as possible, so I'm just gonna try and keep this really vague. But in that movie, they took a character who I wanted to see die so bad. I was chomping at the bit that he was in this movie because I wanted to see him die. And by the end of the movie, I was like, I can't believe they killed him. Like, I wanted to see him die so bad. And then by the end of the movie, I was like, they did this man so dirty. Oh my God. Like, the main villain, people talk about like Demon Slayer doesn't have any story. Demon Slayer doesn't have any story. If you actually pay attention to the backgrounds and the backstories of all the characters, it makes the main villain of Demon Slayer just one of the biggest. I mean, there's no other way to describe it, but just one of the biggest assholes in anime I think there ever has been. Like I hate Muzan. I hate him. Like he is such an asshole. Like it's really good, and like most of the time when anime movies come out, like there's like a hardcore fans go and see whatever's going on, and then it does less than $100,000 in $100 million for sure. It's usually less than 50 million in theaters, but like it's been going up and up and up. You know, the record was, I think it was Spirited Away, but that's Ghibli, so it doesn't. It's in a whole different category. But like the record was, the first Demon Slayer movie was the record for a long time, and then I think Superhero broke that one, and then I think there's been like a couple of My Hero Academia movies that have come out since then. And I don't think any of them have broken the records, but they've been higher than most anime movies do. And then freaking Infinity Castle currently, which is still in a movie run right now, has is like 5 times higher than the highest anime release that has ever happened. Like for it to like, like break the record 5 times over and it's not even done running yet is pretty crazy. So like that movie is amazing, and like the idea that they took everything that they've been building up in Demon Slayer for the past, like, because this isn't like a side story. It's not. It's the direct continuation of the story of Demon Slayer. So it's like they took a season and then just were like, nope, we're gonna throw that in a movie theater and make it a 2-hour movie, and they made the right call, because it's like, I think what I heard is the Infinity Castle movie has made more money for the Demon Slayer franchise than the rest of the entire series.
Oh dang.
So like they killed it. It did an amazing job, and it's worth it. Like I don't think anyone could do it currently because I think it's just too much Demon Slayer. But if you watch some of Demon Slayer, catch up to where they are and then go see the movie. And I'm done.
Well, I think that's a good move, dude. Like people are I think they're ready to go back to the movies, and they've been kind of doing that for a little while now. But anime is so different, and that it doesn't exist on those platforms in most cases. Like it's starting to kind of get to that point where it exists there, but like it's so popular now that like it it's probably better served in the movies as opposed to like going to a streaming platform where only a niche audience is going to look at it.
Yeah, I mean,
So like,
I think Demon Slayer did it the right way. They built this audience like online of like, like, because like if you just like throw something in theaters with no run up, there aren't a lot of people who are going to just jump into go see some random anime just off of rumors they
yeah,
heard. But like,
well, you know what you're going to see when you go to the movie theater. It's not like you're just going to show up to the theater and be like, well, I'm going to pick one off the board. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
right.
Or it's not like that anymore. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
But like the run up is perfect. I mean, I don't know, like I don't know if there's I can think of off the top of my head like a good comparison, but like the moment that where they stopped the anime to like make this movie is like the perfect moment. It's like the best way I could describe it is like if like Dragon Ball Z ran all the way up till like the Cell games, and then they stopped, and then the Cell games happens in a movie in theaters.
Yeah.
Like that's what happens in Demon Slayer right now. And like to even like illustrate how weird this is, like there are going to be 2 more movies that are all based on this art to finish the entire thing. So like there's going to be another one in 2027 and another one in 2029.
Yeah, and it probably gives them more time to polish and all that stuff.
Oh
Like
yeah, and like
it's
I remember.
the art.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Cool. I would say the art in that movie or that series is pretty slick, anyways. But like, think of I know we weren't big fans of the computer generated stuff for superhero, but like if you think about just how polished that movie was, even computer generated stuff, withstanding and stuff, but just it looks better. So I mean, it's better for your fans.
Oh yeah, and I think the budget for the show is normally about $1 million, and for the whole season, and for this one movie, it was like 10 million, and
Yeah.
they made a 500 million back, so obviously they made the right choice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. I love hearing wins like that. So, and then they've got new games coming out. So, really, I think this is probably the better strategy.
Yeah, I feel like
So
this is gonna. I feel like there are a lot of companies are gonna start emulating this idea of just like taking what seems like the most climactic arc in their story and then releasing it in theaters instead of in an episodic anime fashion, just because once you build that hype the way that they did, through all of the Demon Slayer series, and you get to this point and it's like, yeah, I would absolutely go see this in theaters. And it means the
yeah,
production value is going to shoot way up. It means that, they got Channing Tatum to do a voice in it, like, which is
yeah,
hilarious. Like,
he's a big old nerd.
yeah,
So,
I'm not gonna, I mean, I was blown away when I heard it. But I will say, Channing Tatum definitely seems like he is an actor meant for the screen. Voice acting is not for everybody. Channing Tatum definitely seems like he is an actor meant for the screen.
my name is Jeff.
He is definitely because like I think they wanted to capture some of his actual like what's the point of hiring Channing Tatum if you don't know it's Channing Tatum? So like they're definitely trying to get some of his like character in it, but like hearing him read some of these Japanese names was just I was like, okay, buddy, I know you're trying.
It's like me.
But I got a lot of One Piece to talk about, so I'm gonna end my rant right there, and then I'm gonna let you talk so I can rant about One Piece so we can get out of here on time.
Oh, okay. So what am I talking about? What am I talking about? Oh, I guess I did have the topic of having nothing to talk about. Yeah, I put two things on here. One was I watched 28 years later and was not impressed by it. The cinematography on it was fantastic. Like Danny Doyle, like he directed the 20 Days Later. I forget the other jabroni's name, but he did the second one, I think. Anyway,
That was a
but
very
he shot the whole thing
casual.
on
That was a very
what's that?
casual jabroni you just threw in there.
Oh, dude, yeah. I even got that word over at the bank. So, like, it's people that you would not expect to be using the word jabroni are using the word jabroni. I pride myself on being able to get anything over. My old boss at my last job, whenever we would set the alarm at night in order to get everybody like the all clear word for everybody to set the alarm was hooty hoo. So hearing this 50 something year old woman, massive Republican and all that stuff, she goes hooty hoo. But anyway, but yeah, I wasn't big on 28 years later. It didn't really feel like I mean, it is literally a continuation of 28 days and 28 weeks later, but uh, it's it's definitely it's definitely a choice. It's shot beautifully, like it was shot on iPhones, like entirely on iPhones, which sounds bizarre, but did you know that like the first 28 days later he shot that on a one of those like Sony camcorders, like the handy cams.
Uh-huh.
Like he I think that's fantastic, and it lends to what that movie is. With this one, like it, I don't know. iPhones are powerful enough to do a lot of like really cool things. And the movie, if you didn't know that, like you wouldn't have even thought about it, honestly. But it makes some like story choices that I think are kind of weird. I'm not going to spoil it because it's still pretty new and all that. I'm not mad that I watched it, but I think if I had gone to theaters to see it, I probably would have got up and left. And I don't do that for I've maybe only done that twice in my life, but I actually got up and left during Inception, but that was because I got sick. Anyway, but my other topic that I have on here is downsizing. I feel sometimes like I've got too much stuff, and I know that's it pertains a lot more to video games than it does anything else. Like, I grew up not not poor or anything like that, but like my parents, video games were not the first thing on their minds. So if I had a console, I maybe had 3 to 5 games for it. And I remember like the Nintendo 64 actually having more games than I had ever had at that point in time was probably like 10 to 15, maybe, depending on I'd have to really think about like what we had and all that stuff, but was kind of going through Drake's room a little bit, and he's kind of scaling back on a lot of the stuff that he has. Like he had us, he packed away his Dragon Ball statues.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of. I don't want to use the term growing up because I feel like that could be considered a little offensive, I guess. But like, because there's nothing wrong with liking Dragon Ball or anything like that as a grown adult or whatever. But he's moving on to other things, and we have between I'd say all quote unquote 3 of the major platforms and stuff. 4, I guess, if you got PC and stuff. We have thousands of video games, thousands, and it gets a little stressful to sit there and be like, well, this is like what this I have to play this or I have to do this or whatever. Yeah. It just gets a little stressful. So, and that's kind of like why I started playing Final Fantasy 9 was more because it was comfy. It was cozy. It reminded me of a different time when there was less things going on. It just, I'm not really sure where I was going to go with this one, honestly, but like, it's good to kind of take a step back and take stock of things that you have and, be thankful for what you got, I guess. But like, if you feel overwhelmed by anything, and even like, I know you listen to podcasts too. I listen to a lot of video game podcasts. One of the big themes that pops up a lot is like, oh, there's too much to play. Oh, there's so much going on. You don't have to like take on their mentality with that stuff. It's like, yeah, there is a lot of things coming out that I would like to play, and you know, but you don't have to play everything, you know, and especially like if it's brand new or whatever. Like, there's nothing stopping you from holding back and coming back when it's cheaper or something like that. Which
Yeah.
is why like I've installed this new $50 rule. I think I may have talked about it on the last podcast too, but I don't buy anything anymore unless it's like Resident Evil or Final Fantasy or something like that. I'm not going to spend $70 on it. I'll wait till it's $50 or below. But I'm actually at the point right now where I have so much, I'm not buying anything until Resident Evil comes out, the new one, or Pragmata, whichever one of those two comes first.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah. I feel like it's part of here's my conspiracy take on it. I feel like it's part of like, let's say, gaming quote unquote journalism. My quote unquote is including just people who talk about games, people whose, careers are based on talking about games, people whose careers are based about, you know, politics and games or whatever. It's part of their ethos is they want to talk about every single game that comes out because it allows them to draw in the maximum amount of people to make them money off of games. But every person, because that's the way they talk about games, and then like social media and kind of our media landscape in general kind of demands you to be informed about everything. Be
Mhm.
informed about everything if you don't play everything. So then it kind of gives you this like mindset of like, new game's out, I gotta play it. I have to play it. I have to play the new game so I can be part of the conversation that they're having about whether that game's good or bad
Yeah,
or whatever. And it's like,
I hate that. That
everyone has to like personally be like, you gotta take a step back from that because you basically are teaching yourself to just constantly consume games in order to
right.
constantly be knowledgeable on every argument that every person, like, don't worry about it. Like, play what you want to play. Like, if you, because like also because of the way that that works, those people have to be the first person talking about every game. Then if you want to be a part of that conversation, then you have to keep up with them, but they get paid to do that. You don't.
Yeah.
So
What kind of got me thinking about that was how, what was the most recent game I played? It doesn't matter. But what got me thinking about all that stuff was how I'm able to remember things about, we'll say Final Fantasy 9, like because I was able to sit down, enjoy the game. I wasn't like beholden to any sort of like quote unquote conversation or anything like that. I wasn't rushed to play it. I played Final Fantasy 9 like a year and a half after it had come out. So like there weren't any podcasts back in 2000, 2001, whatever. But like I didn't have to, I could play it at my leisure and instead of like consume the game, because like we were consuming things quite like constantly, but I was able to be able to live in that world and remember it. And but like, dude, I can't remember hardly anything from new games anymore
yeah,
because it's always just it's pushing you onto the next thing. And I don't want to be like that anymore. Like there's a lot of great games out. There are more good games now than there have ever been. But like it's hard to it's hard to recommend it's hard to recommend those games if you are not taking stock of what you're doing.
yeah.
And this is going to come into my positive down the line. So like there was a flow to all my topics today, but being present in the thing that you are currently doing it means everything. Otherwise, why are we doing it? You know what I mean? Like, do you like? I'm reading The Hobbit right now with Lydia. I tip of the hat to Aaron for the inspiration on that one. I'd never read The Hobbit before. We are reading maybe 2 or 3 pages at a time at night because that's really all she can handle. But like, do you read a book just to get to the end of it, to get to the next book? Like, is that how we are? Like, that's not what we do. Anyway, like that's like I kind of digress on all this stuff. Like, I want people to kind of think about how they do things. And Silksong was actually what I was thinking about the most recent game I was playing. Where like if I'm not present in that game, you are not going to get very far in it. Like if you are not like actively in that world, paying attention to things you're doing. If I'm thinking about the next thing I'm going to play, like there's no point in me playing Silksong. I'm not going to advance very far on that. So anyway, yeah. And that's kind of a spoiler on my positives for later. I do have more to say on that, but just slow down, like take stock. You know, you don't need to play everything. Like, and really, like we can't play everything. It is literally impossible. Nobody can do that. Even the people that like I like kind of funny or IGN or something like that. That kind of represents the big and the small of the video games industry. They have multiple people on their teams to play all the things that are coming out. So they divvy all this stuff out. If you were listening to like kind of funny's content or something like that, and you hear about maybe 3 or 4 great games in a week because there are so many great games, they're doing multiple podcasts in a week. There's like they've got different people playing these games. You cannot play all these games at the same time. There's no possible way that you've got that much bandwidth. Just enjoy what you got. And then, the other cool part about that, and this is your buddy Banker Brett coming into play here. When you're ready for it, it'll be cheaper. Save yourself some money.
we are we are the grandpas of video games.
Yeah. Yeah. Save yourself some money. This is coming from the guy that used to buy everything. So I'm learning my lesson. I'm saving myself a little bit of time, a little bit of money. I'm enjoying my Final Fantasy 9. While I was playing that, I wouldn't think about anything else. You know, I was present in the thing that I was playing. So anyway, I just added 3 more gray hairs talking about that.
I I okay. this is the thing that I really love about this podcast. I feel like so many people make podcasts and then like when they are older, they're gonna go back and listen to them and be like, "What was I talking about?" I feel like ours is like, "Yep, yeah, that that absolutely." I was spitting knowledge that day.
Yeah. Well, like the great poets Blink 182 once said, I guess this is growing up.
Okay, all right. So I've been teasing it the entire time, but I want to start with the real world part of this, and then I want to go into the argument that's happening online. So first
I'm
off,
gonna try to be as present in this conversation as possible. I promise you. I'm deep in a cup of coffee. I'm gonna see what I can do with this. So
okay.
bring 'em.
All right. First thing, I wanna have you go to the Gamedads chat on Discord real quick and look at the pictures I just put in there.
Oh God, I hope they're naughty. This if this isn't Jean Grey, this isn't Jean Grey.
It's not.
I I know about this, by the way. I know about this.
Okay. Well, then we're gonna talk about it for a bit. So in Nepal, like Gen Z in Nepal basically said like our government is corrupt and we need to get rid of them. So people started flying the One Piece Jolly Roger as a protest signal, as a protest flag to their government. So this got from just them flying this flag to them overthrowing their government. Like they overthrew their government. They went to the Capitol. I'm not supposed to laugh at this because they literally killed their prime minister. Like overthrew their government.
Yeah.
Flying Luffy's flag. That bottom picture is the governor's the prime minister's mansion on fire with a freaking One Piece flag flying in front of it. So the big three is this argument that people have all the time, which is the best anime out of the big three. It's always been One Piece, but people argue whether it's One Piece or it's Naruto or
Digimon.
Digimon's not in there or it's Bleach.
Damn. Really?
Um,
Dragon Ball's not in there?
Dragon Ball is the grandpa. So, quick explanation for anyone who wants to have this conversation about Dragon Ball Z and the big three. Dragon Ball Z is essentially, well, Dragon Ball Z and Slam Dunk, which is a basketball manga, but we're not even going to talk about that. But like,
Sticky sentence.
seriously, I'm not kidding. Slam Dunk, it was like this absolutely massive manga about Japanese kids playing basketball. Like, I'm not kidding.
Very cool.
So when Dragon Ball Z ended, there was this huge like void inside of manga. It was like, what is going to take over after Dragon Ball Z is gone? Because it's gone. And, you know, manga sales started dropping all over because there wasn't an anime to replace them. That is when the big three was created, which is One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach, which all dropped around the same time, and they filled the void that Dragon Ball Z left. So Dragon Ball Z is not part of the big three because the big three was created to fill the void that Dragon Ball Z left. So Dragon Ball Z is not part of it because it's literally bigger than it.
I'm picking up a foot down.
So there's always been an argument about which one is bigger between the three. There's been a long time where people have been saying it's Naruto because there's a big generation of kids who grew up with Naruto as their favorite anime. But like, this proves that it's One Piece. Like,
Yeah. Or at
like,
least at the very least, it's got the most cultural resonance. You know?
yeah, like, so this happened. Then an argument started happening online where there is a crowd of people who fit into a certain political demographic, which I'm not going to specifically name, but as I continue talking, you will understand. A group of people who fit into a specific political demographic who don't believe that One Piece is political.
Yeah.
I would say here's Exhibit A, but they've seen Exhibit A and they still don't understand that One Piece is political. So I'm going to go into a little bit of how One Piece is political for the people who might hear this and be like, I don't understand. So, the entire story of One Piece is Luffy is a pirate. And he is a pirate and he fights against the world government, which consists of super rich people and the Marines who serve the super rich people. I feel like Exhibit B is pretty clear that it's as political, but that is the story of One Piece, and people still don't think that One Piece is political, so I'll keep going. The first arc of One Piece, Luffy arrives at a town that is run by a Marine who basically has replaced their entire police force with his Marines. He makes all the rules in the town, he decides what happens, and his main tactic for getting people to follow his rules is starving them. Zoro does something against those Marines. In order to keep a little girl from being punished, he takes her punishment and allows himself to be starved by these people. They starve him for several days, and Luffy shows up and is like, yo, they're not planning on letting you go. They're just going to let you die here, so join my pirate crew. Eventually, like, Luffy frees Zoro, and then Zoro joins his crew, and they leave. After defeating the Marine that's been running the town. So, like, the first arc of One Piece is about a military starving its citizens to get them to comply to their demands and abusing their power against their citizens. It's the first arc of One Piece. That is it. That's what happens. The second arc of One Piece is about the fishmen who exist in One Piece. They're just a race that exists in One Piece. They're just like fish people. The fish people, up until recently, were just slaves. Like, the Marines and the rich people at the top just kept the fish people as slaves. Then the fish people got free. Now that they're free, they basically resent the world government for enslaving them for hundreds of years. And form pirate crews to fight against the Marines because they were enslaved. That is the second story of One Piece. It'll be the last one, and then I'm done because I could do this for the next 20 arcs of One Piece. There's like 2 more arcs after that, which have political themes. One of them is everyone deserves to eat because they show up to a floating island and they don't have money to pay for food, and the cooks there feed them anyway because everyone deserves to eat. Then one of the crewmates, Nami, gets sick, and they have to take her to an island to try and find a doctor to help her. They go to the island. They don't have money to pay the doctor, but the doctor kills her anyway because everyone deserves health care. Every single arc in One Piece is political. All of them. And the idea that anyone watched 1,200 episodes of One Piece, 1,200 episodes of One Piece, and could not land on the fact that One Piece is political it's absolute craziness to me. One of the arcs of One Piece, Wano, a warlord shows up on an island, strips all of the people of that island of their culture, forces them to work in factories, and then anyone who disagrees with him gets forced to eat a magical, like, poison that strips all your emotions from you and only makes you able to laugh. So you laugh when you're mad, you laugh when you're in pain, you laugh when you're sad, so that it looks like, from anyone coming in to look at this place, it looks like everyone is happy when they're all actually miserable and enslaved. Like, so, like, there's this huge argument going on right now about how people are talking about how One Piece isn't political. And it's brought into the greater conversation about how every piece of, like, media is political in some way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And people are now arguing to the death that they know of an anime that's not political. And it's like, no, you don't.
Oh,
And
like things like that. I mean, they take into consideration everything from like the artist's point of view, like their political beliefs, their religious beliefs, all that stuff. Everything can be considered, in some way it's inherently political. Just that's honestly that's just art.
it's
You know,
art. It's like the thing that you like, the conclusion that I came to in this is it depends on your perspective.
yeah,
Because if you're
how you
looking,
interpret it.
yeah, if you're looking at the MCU as, superheroes go burr and stuff, like, sure, but how many characters in the MCU are directly related to or connected to the US military? How many of them?
Right.
Like how many times, I mean, the idea that like you watch the MCU and you hear them talk about the Sokovia Accords and you don't understand that that's politics. Like it's just it's been a very interesting argument to see how many people look. I mean, I feel like me personally, I'm a person who kind of sees politics and everything and all the time. So like it's weird for me to see people who don't see it that way and then to hear their perspective on why they don't think things that seem obviously political to me aren't. And it's just been a very like weird time online to be like, so you're telling me you, a human being who exists on Earth, watched Superman and didn't see anything political happening in that story?
Yeah, I'm with Superman specifically, like I knew a lot of people were going to complain about particular things that are in that movie. And that's the kind of stuff I was trying to divorce myself from, like taking it and misconstruing for their own, like, they want to call it woke or whatever, which I mean, I don't like that leg to stand on anyways. Like, just blanket blanket statement, everything is woke, whatever. Like, I'm personally of the belief that like if you're not quote unquote woke, then what the hell are you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a bad thing or anything like that. But the people that went after Superman for specific things or whatever, like, I don't, I don't know, man.
I think,
I think sometimes people just want to like go into something and just turn off their brains and all that stuff, and I get that. Like, I'm like that sometimes too. You know what I mean? I want to just enjoy something just for how like happy it is. But my thing with Superman specifically was like people were trying to weaponize the fact that it was positive. And like, there are definitely inherently political things in that. There's there's correlations between, I can't remember the two fake countries' names in that movie, but
yeah,
there's correlations between that and things that are going on.
Arabia
And
and Jahanpur.
that's right. Yeah. I just watched it the other day and I
Me too.
couldn't remember the names of those things. But anyway, there's direct comparisons between that and things that are going on in real life right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, but instead of like talking about that, they talk about like the happiness aspect of it, or like I just anyway, I'm derailing it a little bit, but
Yeah.
I get why people would want to turn their brains off on on some things, but like most things inherently are. So
Yeah. Like I understand that, you know, sometimes you want to escape politics to like, go do something else. You want to be outside of it for a little while. I understand that, like, especially now how intense all of, excuse me, the political stuff is. I can understand wanting to like get away from it, but like there are way avenues to do that, and not everything can be that.
right. Oh, dude, and that gets back to what I was saying earlier, about being present, turning your phone off, walk away, go do something else. Like, you don't need to be plugged into all these things all the stinking time. My be present sort of thing was more, it's you could draw lines to just about anything with it. turn your phone off, be with your kids, that kind of stuff. And spoilers for my topic here in a little bit, I guess, or my positive, but you know, turn, put your phone down,
Yeah.
walk away.
Yeah. So like the last thing that I wanted to say in like the One Piece news, because it's just been these two big things are huge, but the last one's a little bit more lighthearted. I feel like I should end with it. So sorry, my throat's getting scratchy. They released the episode count and episode like kind of relation for how the new One Piece anime is going to handle all the episodes from the old piece. And I want to look this up so I'm saying everything right. So give me just a second.
The old, the old piece.
Well, I call it the old
Is,
piece.
is that what they're calling it?
Uh,
Is it the old piece and the new piece?
I would love that. Let me see if I can find the exact numbers. It's like someone put out the exact numbers. Okay, here we go. So the entirety of One Piece currently is over 1,200 episodes.
Insane.
Monumental. So the remake is going to be between 250 and 280 episodes.
That's more my style.
So
That's Dragon Ball Z in its entirety.
so that, but like to like explain how crazy that is. God, if I remember correctly, Dragon Ball Z in its entirety is like 350 chapters.
Oh, okay. How many? What's the episode count on it? It's like 260 though, isn't it?
It's like 291. One Piece is
Which is like still doable.
One Piece is 1,120 chapters.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So
And even with Dragon Ball, like, or when I say Dragon Ball, I mean Dragon Ball Z, but even that could have been cut down, and it was with Kai. And
yeah,
I still think Kai is the superior cut of Dragon Ball, in my opinion. So
how I feel about Kai is they cut too much. They cut some of the very character building filler out. Other than that, I'm fine with the cuts they did with the fights, because the fights were so many times they showed the same clips over and over again because they were trying to pad the runtime for seasons. I get that. But talking about One Piece, I wish I had the comparison. I want to see if someone has a good comparison. Sorry, 1 second.
Hi, Sweet Pea. Today talk about glaring. Hi, Sweet Pea.
Oh, just give me the comparison of the episodes.
For those wondering, well, I'm giggling. I got a happy baby here, and I'm playing Pac-Man. Guess which one I'm happy about. Hi, sweet girl.
Dude loves him some
Um,
Pac-Man.
I do. Well, I guess if I was playing Ms. Pac-Man, I'd be saying hi, sweet girl. But I don't know. Pac-Man can be whatever he wants to be. Hi, baby girl.
I can't find a good comparison, but in total, that means that this remake of One Piece is cutting 800 episodes.
Yeah, good riddance.
800 episodes.
GTFO, get out of here. Gone get.
One Piece is so good that I don't know how I feel about it. Again, it sounds like
Dude,
too many.
so from somebody that doesn't like watch One Piece, like if you want to grow your audience, like
Why One Piece
if
is
you
the
want
third highest selling book of all time? Why? Like
it's so daunting though, but that's with the current existing people. If you want to grow outside of that,
that's
like
like one
you want
person. Oda is just past Harry Potter. Why? Don't bother.
to
Like
you want to bring it you want to bring in old BA, which is like your best demographic, you know, you
I I
you
don't
shorten up the episodes.
I gotta say this. I gotta say this for all of the One Piece haters in the world. I gotta say this. I don't understand why. I don't understand.
Why what?
Like,
Well, it's about things respecting your time. I don't think that.
okay,
I don't
okay,
think One Piece.
okay. I know you're respecting time thing. I know. But okay. Say we're talking about Resident Evil.
Uh huh.
And there was a Resident Evil show.
Uh huh.
And that Resident Evil
Probably not going to
show,
watch it
was 10 out of 10 every episode.
based on whose metrics.
I mean, I would say specifically based on your metrics. If you
Well, how
watch
would I know it's a 10 out of 10?
if you feel like in your heart every episode of that show that you watch is 10 out of 10.
Uh huh.
How many episodes do you want it to have?
It depends.
On
Well, so I'll use Breaking Bad as an example. I love Breaking Bad, but like that show is so heady in some cases that like I think that even the 6 seasons that it did was probably too much. Now, something like Scrubs, like I love Scrubs, but and that's got 200 something episodes as well. Well, maybe like 200. It's got to be close to, if not beyond. But anyway, my point, and you can attest to this too. Scrubs got real bad at the end.
yes, but the episodes at the end that are bad are not 10 out of 10s.
No, they're not.
But if every episode of Scrubs was 10 out of 10, how long would you want it to be?
Are you telling me that every single episode of One Piece is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece?
One Piece is a 10 out of 10. Every season of One Piece is a 10 out of 10 from start to finish. Every single one.
I I don't know if I I haven't seen it, so I can't really say anything about it. But like you're telling me that every episode of the 1,200 plus episodes that it has, every single one of those episodes is a 10 out of 10.
What I will say is every season of One Piece is a 10 out of 10. Every single one.
Right, but are there some stinker episodes in there?
There are some slow episodes in there. There are some episodes that don't get to the point, obviously, because of how long they are, because of how many episodes there are. But like every season of One Piece is a 10 out of 10.
Can you cut those?
It's not 800 episodes.
Obviously, they can because they are cutting them. Is the creator involved with this at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, then yeah. So if the creator is doing this himself or is involved in this, then obviously like that stuff, it may matter to the super fans, but for the people that really just want to get in and see what all the hubbub is all about, you get them in with this, and then if they want more, then you sell them the bigger product. It was like, well, if you like that,
here's what
you're gonna love this.
Here's what I'm saying though. Imagine you start watching the One Piece, which is what the remake is called. Then
I will probably watch the One Piece, by the way.
Then you're like, oh my God, I love this so much. Guess what you have to do? Go back and start watching the 1,000 episodes anyway. So like, why don't you just start with that? Why would you watch one series, get halfway through it, then understand that you're missing so much that you have to go back to watch the other 1,000 episode series? It seems like the thing that you're talking about, the thing that you're saying is like, this is too long.
Yeah.
Dom's here.
Hi, Dom.
Brett says hi.
It's there if you want it to be there. But for somebody like me that probably like has tried and just doesn't care, you know what I mean? The 200 episodes, like that's probably going to be okay for me. Like that'll whet my appetite for it. And if I want more, then I can go get more. You know, it's there. If I like it enough, sure, I'll rewatch for the context, but I can almost guarantee I'm probably not going to, but I like having that option. For the people that don't have the time to invest in that.
Like, okay, let me get to my like thing. The thing that I really feel about all of this. that like this is a controversial opinion. I will accept that my opinion on this is controversial. I don't understand the idea of like, hey, I have a thing that's like the idea of like not watching Breaking Bad because it's too long doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's good. It's really, really good. So like, why would you not like more of a good thing?
So not everything is meant to go on forever.
Yeah, not everything. There are many things that go beyond their limit.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
there are
absolutely. Yeah.
things that don't. There are things that like this is the thing about Oda is when he started writing One Piece, he originally meant One Piece to be like 100 chapters. He got 50 chapters in and decided that he wanted it to go on forever, and he wrote it that way. Like it's not JD where like once you get into like season 6 where he just like never grows up and does the same things over and over again. Like it's I think there's this thing that like we hit as like consumers where we are like everything has a decay point and anything that's longer than this is going to hit its decay point at some point and then it's going to start getting bad. So like I'm preemptively not allowing myself to get into this thing cuz I know it's going to hit a decay point. But like One Piece does not have a decay point. It has only gotten better. It just like
I,
if I have
I'm not,
infinite of something good, I'm not gonna like be like, okay, well, this is too many good things, so I'm just gonna stop. Like, I just that doesn't connect to me. It's just like,
so I think you're missing my point on Breaking Bad. That one specifically, like that one does not get bad. That one knows when to get out. I think there's a big difference. Like it tells its story. If it had gone on any longer than that, it probably would have started getting bad. But like he knew the story he wanted to tell, and he did it. If he said this guy's name is Oda, right?
yes,
Okay. If Oda, like, if his story is 1,200 plus episodes, then God bless. You know what I mean? Like, if you're enjoying it, who gives a shit what I think? You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
that's my
that's the key of our podcast. Is who gives a shit if you like it, but
right. Exactly. But like, it's if it's still good and it's still or great from what you're saying, like that's awesome. But at the same time, too, for the people that don't want to invest that amount of time in it, now there's this alternative product where I can get in and get like quote unquote the cliff notes or whatever, a more condensed, consolidated, you know, concentrated version of this great thing. And then if I want more of that, if I get a taste of that because the other product is too daunting and I really want to get into it, dude, I've got that there. And then from what exactly what your point is, that's just more One Piece, and that's fantastic, right?
I look, this whole rant is not me saying that the One Piece is a bad thing. I think that the One Piece is going to be great. I mean, it's One Piece, so it's going to be good.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. You're just gonna
they
get
were
more people out.
they were like, nobody can do live action animes. And I don't think the live action One Piece is great, but it's definitely the best one of the live action animes that's ever come out. For sure. It's definitely the best. But what I'm saying is, I don't understand why, if you have something good, something great, why the idea of that thing being long is a problem. It doesn't compute to me. Like, if you were to be like, hey, guess what? They the Secret of Mana, the game, there's actually 50 more hours of that game that they just cut off the original version. And then you put me in that extra 50 hours and it's just as good as the first 50. I'm not going to be like, this shit's too long. I'll be like, hell
Okay,
yeah, 50
so
hours.
my pushback on that is most times when they add that much stuff to it, it's 9 times out of 10, it's fluff.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's not you're sitting there saying that the 1,200 episodes of One Piece, there's not one single bit of fluff in there. It's all gas, no brakes.
It's all gas the whole time.
Okay. Well,
Like,
like I said, if I watch this truncated version of it and I like it, I'll go back and I'll watch the rest of it. But I I've consumed enough media or whatever, video games, TV shows, whatever, to know that sometimes too much of a good thing is not always the best thing in the world. You
I
know,
like
that
I have never come on this
but I'm excited
podcast.
for you.
I have never come on this podcast, and I want this stated for the record. I have never come on this podcast and been like, you should watch One Piece
Well,
because because
I've tried a couple times.
because I don't think, as a person who I know you well enough to know the way that you operate around media, I don't think One Piece is the type of show that is something that you would be able to jump into and enjoy the way I enjoyed, at least. I think I think
I
it
think the difference being if I had been there from the jump and been enthralled by it, I would have a different perspective on it. It's the same thing. It's honestly the same argument for the people that really like Yakuza.
mm,
Yakuza is really hard to get into is because it's a very high barrier to entry. There's however many games. Oh shit, I didn't want to do that. Sorry, I'm playing Pac-Man. But it's a high barrier to entry, and like there's spin-offs and all kinds of other stuff like that you have to consider and all that. And I think that's what some people see it in One Piece as well. Like if I had been with the Yakuza from the jump, that's great. I've been with Resident Evil from the jump, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm able to tolerate that as much as I am. Granted, those experiences are a lot shorter than other gaming experiences. Like you can if you're long playing Resident Evil 4, I mean, it's going to take you 20 hours and stuff, but that game can be beaten in sub 10. Yakuza on the other hand is more, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, in some cases like it's a very long experience. With One Piece, I think it's a little bit more palatable because the episodes are what 20 minutes ish, less than that when you take out like intros and all that. Like anime intros are notoriously long, but it's still like for somebody that is just jumping into it, they see the episode count, they're like, holy shit, like that's I'm not sure if I'm gonna have either A, the time, or B, like the mind space for this.
I
And
mean
I understand that.
I mean
It's the same thing with comic books, dude.
the mind
Like
space
that's
argument I hear, but like it's not like there's a time limit. It's not like you got to
right.
get One Piece down in a year, or it starts over
Yeah,
or something. Like you can just watch it
I agree
whenever
with
you have
that.
time. Like it's just
Well,
watch it.
so and that's also why, like, if you remember the new 52 from DC, like, the comic books, and not saying that this is exactly one to one or anything like that, but the DC comic book universe was really hard to get into. So they just did a hard reset on it. And I think like this is exactly that. Like it's not apples to apples here, but like this is the new piece is the One Piece equivalent of the new 52. And this is how you like give somebody a brand new entry point. Say like, hey, if you like this, then we have this other back catalog of old stuff that you can get into. So if you really like Aquaman, which New 52 Aquaman was awesome, he was notoriously bad. Like if you really like this, then we have this whole universe of things that we've done, and you can just jump into that. That's what I'm arguing with this. Is it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to get new people in on, like that you wouldn't normally have. You have a captive audience. You are a captive audience. Chris is a captive audience. Now they're coming after me or Drake or you know my 96-year-old neighbor down the street, which I'm really sure is going to like this show.
I would
You
I
know,
would I would love that. All right. Well, I've said my piece. I like I said,
You
I
said
don't.
your new piece.
Yep, my new piece. I I
Uh,
I don't. I don't. It doesn't make sense to me, but I understand the concept of like, hey, here's an appetizer to see if you like One Piece, and then we can bring you in. But it's just like,
I
I mean,
wouldn't even
I
look at it as an appetizer. Like if old piece is the filet mignon, you know, or the New York strip or the Big Daddy thing on the menu, maybe this is like your gourmet cheeseburger, This is the other thing on the menu that, like, hey, like I come in and like I only have time for this one thing, but when I come back, like I'm going to order that big ass steak, you know.
I
I like that
just
analogy.
like like I said, like I said, I think that it's a good idea. I think that it is going to bring in new fans and it is like a good jumping off point. But I'm also a One Piece evangelist who's always going to say like, well, if you're interested in watching it, just watch it. It's all gas. Like, all right. I also got delivered a baby, and I think that means that it's time for me to end.
Yeah.
So I think we did
Okay.
pretty good. We're only 15 minutes off.
Are we? Okay. Well, my positive was already like in the show and stuff, but like I'll just reiterate, like be present in what you're doing. If you got a baby in your arms, put your phone down. Just be there with the baby. You know,
Abs-
if you're listening to a song, listen to the song. You know, like watch your movie, put your phone down in the movie theater. Stop multitasking. We don't need to fucking multitask.
yes. This is a thing that I have been working on and I have told people that they need to work on.
I
Multitasking
say
is
that
a
I'm multitasking right now. So
multitasking is a thing that was created for work. It is not created for pleasure. We have taken this idea that we have taken from work and moved it into leisure. You should
right.
never be multitasking in leisure. You should be doing whatever you're doing. You shouldn't multitask at work
Although
either. Both are bad. But like, especially when you're supposed to be resting, your mind do the thing you're doing. Don't be doing two different things at the same time when you're supposed to be resting. It's the opposite of resting.
So I'm a hypocrite right now. I'm playing Pac-Man as we speak, but I always play video games when we do the podcast. It keeps me in the mood to play video game or to talk about video games and everything but video games. Damn it. I
Absolutely.
just did the thing I didn't want to do.
And for me, mine is I I feel like I constantly say do self check-ins like all the time, but I am specifically experiencing one right now because I'm transitioning from my paternity leave to going back to work, and then when you do a transition like this, sometimes you fall back into old patterns, sometimes you create new bad patterns, and sometimes you create new good patterns. So like when you have a transition like this, where you're going from doing like one thing to doing something completely different, make sure you're checking in, seeing what you're doing, what your patterns are forming, and then this is the great time to like, okay, I'm putting myself in some bad patterns and I need to like check it before they are set in stone. So always do a self check, a little while after a big transition, just to see what you're doing and then what you can be doing differently to make, your day, your life, your week better. Because if you let those patterns set in, they're a lot harder to break.
Agreed. I will say like our self check-ins on the podcast and all that. That's actually kind of where I got my be present thing from because I caught myself being more into my like I was more worried about what podcast I was listening to as I was feeding the baby as opposed to like actually feeding the baby herself.
Mm-hmm.
Like what can I do to be entertaining myself during this quote unquote boring task or whatever? And it got me thinking about what I was doing, and now I don't do that anymore. So Aaron's self check-ins, I love that as a positive, and we could all learn from Aaron. So
I try, baby. I try. Okie doke.
you just call me baby.
I was talking to the baby.
You just call me baby.
Well, I can call you baby, but I was talking to the baby.
I can be your hero, baby. I can be your Dickie Simpkins.
Right. Wimity Wham Wazzle forever.
I can't sing film large parts, don't you? Tell him Largemont sent you. Actually, it works really well. Tell him Largemont sent you. I can take your breath
Breath
away.
away. All right. Everybody out there, thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye. Love it.